Hello, class. We're going to pick up where we left off at. This is lesson 3, chapter 3, part 2. So we're going to pick up with solving for the base. But what we're going to do, we're going to go to the actual problems, and then we will go through what we need to do. Okay, so with A, it says find the missing element in each set. You may not use a calculator. So basically, we're going to be doing the same thing we did in the previous section because we're going to use the algebraic method. So let's take a look at problem number 1. For problem number 1, it says $35, and I'm just going to write this first one out, and the rest we'll just read and go through what it is. So let me write that out. It says $35 is 20% of what amount? So we'll rewrite the $35 is means equal. 20% we'll change to a decimal, which is 0.20. Of means multiplication. And what amount is just your x. So we will have $35 is equal to 0.20 times x, which is 0.20x. Now we have to get x by itself, so we'll divide each side by 0.20. And we know on this side we will have x because these will simplify out to 1, and 1 times x is x. Now we have to take 0.20 into 35. We can go off to the side here. We have to move this decimal 2 places to the right, and the decimal behind the 35 2 places to the right. So to be 20 into 3,500. 20 goes into 3 0 times. 20 goes into 35 once. 1 times 20 is 20. 35 minus 20 is 15. Bring down to 0. 20 goes into 150 7 times. So 7 times 20 is 140. 150 minus 140 is 10. We bring down our next 0. 20 goes into 100 5 times. 5 times 20 is 100. And we have nothing remaining. So our answer here would be $175. So x is $175. Now, we're not going to go through every problem, but I am going to go through a few of them just for you to get practice. And if you do have any questions over any of the problems we didn't cover, you can ask me in class or email me. So let's skip down to problem number 6. Now we're going to talk this out. It says $105 is, which means equal, 80%, which we'll write as 0.80. Oh, I'm sorry. It's I mixed the problems up. Let me rewrite that. So 6 is $105 equal to, it's 125%. So that written as a decimal is 1.25. Of means multiplication. And what number is x? Okay, now, so we have $105 is equal to 1.25x. We divide each side by 1.25. And we know these will simplify out and leave you x. Now we will have to take 1.25 into 105. We'll move this decimal 2 places to the right. It's assumed to be a decimal behind the 5 on 105. And we will move that 2 places to the right. So it'll be 125 into 10,500. So 125 does not go into 1, it does not go into 10, it does not go into 105, but it does go into 1,050. So it goes in, 125 goes into 1,050. It looks like 8 times. 8 times 125 is 1,000. 1,050 minus 1,000 is 50. And then we'll bring down our 0. 125 goes into 500 4 times. 4 times 125 is 500, and you have nothing remaining. So it'll be $84. Okay, now we look at, let's look at problem number 10. With problem number 10, it says $42. So we'll write down our $42. Is means equal. What percent we know is our x. Of means multiplication. And $168 is $168. Now, we go here, we have $42 is equal to $168x. Now we would divide each side by $168. These two will simplify out and leave you x. Now we have 42 over 168. These can be simplified by dividing both of these by 4. 42 divided by 4 is actually, oh, you know what? No. It should have actually been divided by 42, not 4. 42 divided by 42 is 1. 168 divided by 42 is actually 4. So it's 1/4 is equal to x. Now we would be done, but it asks us what percent. So we have to change this fraction to a decimal to a percent. So we would take 4 into, we could make it 1.00. 4 goes into 1 0 times. 4 goes into 10 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. Bring down your 0. 4 goes into 25 times. 5 times 4 is 20, so you have no remainder. So this would be 0.25 is equal to x, but we have to change this to a percent. And we know we move this decimal 2 places to the right, and this 25% is equal to x. So now, that took care of problem number 10. Now again, if you feel that I'm going too fast on some of these problems, you can rewind it. And then I know on YouTube you can play it at a slower rate as well, if you so choose. Okay, now we move on. So we just did problem 10. Okay, I think the next number I want to do is problem 16. It says 5% of an amount is $156. What is the amount? So 5% written as a decimal is 0.05. Of is multiplication. And amount is an amount we don't know, so that's x. Is means equal, and it's $156. Okay, so now, with that being said, 0.05 times x is 0.05x is equal to $156. Okay, next, we'll solve for x. We'll divide each side by 0.05. And x is equal to, because the 0.05 simplify out. So now we will have to take 0.05 into 156. So we'll go off to the side, 0.05 into 156. We'll move the decimal 2 places to the right here. It's assumed to be a decimal here. We'll move that 2 places to the right. So it'll be 5 into 15,600. So now 5 doesn't go into 1, 5 goes into 15 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. That'll give us 0. We'll bring down our 6. 5 goes into 6 once. 1 times 5 is 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. We'll bring down our 0. 5 goes into 10 twice. 2 times 5 is 10. And that leaves us 0. We'll bring down our 0. 5 goes into 0 times. So our answer here would be 3,120. So that would be $3,120. That was the amount. Okay, now 17. Now I like 17 because we have a fraction with the percent. So 17 says 2.5% of a number is 100. What is the number? So let's write this out. 2.5, let's make that 2.5. 2.5% of its multiplication. A number is x, is equal, and 100 is 100. Now we would change this 2.5% to a decimal. We'll move it 2 places to the left, and it'll be 0.025 times x equals 100. Now 0.025 times x is 0.025x equals 100. We divide each side by 0.025, and x is equal to, these two would simplify out, and you would take 0.025 into 100. You have to move this decimal 3 places to the right. You put your decimal here and move it 3 places to the right. So it'd be 25 into 100,000. 25 doesn't go into 1, 25 doesn't go into 10, but 25 goes into 100 4 times. 4 times 25 is 100, and that'll give us 0, and we'll bring down this 0. 25 goes into 0 times. We'll bring down the next 0. 25 goes into 0 times. And then we'll bring down the next 0, and 25 goes into 0 times. So our answer here would be 4,000. So it would be 4,000, which would be x. All right, now, if we look at 18, it says, what percent is $15.60 of $156? So what percent would be x? Is mean equal. $15.60 would be $15.60. Of means multiplication, and $156. Okay, now with 18, this is how we would write this the standard way, but this isn't a standard problem. You're not going to encounter many problems like this. So we're going to write this out, and I have to show you how to do this problem. So let me write this out. It says, what percent is $15.60 of 156? Okay, now, the what percent is still x. That doesn't change. The is still equal. The $15.60 is still $15.60. But the problem here is, and this is where you have to use your mathematical knowledge. We know typically of means multiplication. But we know if we multiply these two, this is not going to give us a percent. So what we would have to do is this here. We want to ultimately end up with the $15.60. So we want to know what percent of this value here gives us the $15.60. So we would have to multiply the what percent times $156. Now I'm going to do another problem that will illustrate this so you could see how to do this and when to do this. So this would be $156 x is equal to $15.60. We divide each side by $156. We don't have to put the 0.00. That just makes it a little cumbersome. So that's 156. So this will leave us x, and now we have to take 156 into 1560. So we take 156 into 1560. Bring up our decimal. 156 goes into 15 0 times. 156 goes into 156 once. 156 minus 156 is 0. Bring down your 0. 156 goes into 0 times. And your answer here is 0.10. But we have to change that to a percent by moving the decimal 2 places to the right. So x is 10%. Now, a similar problem to this is problem 14. Now, most of your problems would be cut and dry. But when you encounter a problem like 14 and 18, you have to use your mathematical knowledge to know you have to set this up differently. Now, what percent we know is x? Is equal. Now, if you look here, 126 is 126. It says what percent is 126 of 140? We know if we make this 126 times 140, that will not give us a percent. It will give us a large whole number. So this is another case where you would take this and multiply it by the what percent. So it'll be times 140. So this will give us 140x is equal to 126. We divide these out by 140. And then x will be equal to. So now we have to take our 140 and 126. Now we can simplify both of these by dividing them by 2. And this will give us, what's that, 63 all over 70. So now to make it a little easier to divide. And remember, we're trying to change this to a percent. So we'll go at least 2 decimal places. 70 goes into 63 0 times. 70 goes into 630 9 times. 9 times 70 is 630. So this is 0, bring down your 0. 70 goes into 0 times. So your answer here will be 0.90. So x is equal to 0.90, but we have to make this into a percent. So we know that we will have x is equal to 90%, because you have to move that decimal 2 places to the right. So that will be your final answer for problem number 14. All right, so now we come down here to problems 18 to 22, and they say we can use a calculator. Well, actually it's 19 to 22, not 18. Okay, so now it says choose the one best answer to each question. You may use your calculator. Okay, now we're going to look at problem number 20. All right, with problem number 20, it states, a city council established the following budget to improve public transportation. Now we see the table here. All right, now it says if $72,000 is allotted for equipment, what is the total budget for the project? Okay, so $72,000 is allotted for equipment. So we look at equipment as 6%. What is the total budget for the project? So basically, we would, for number 20, is 72,000 is 6%, which we'll put at 0.06 of what number? Now we have to look at this. This is where your mathematical knowledge will come into play. They tell us that the equipment is only 6% of the budget. We're told that $72,000 is what was spent on equipment, but we want to know the total budget. So that 6% is of the total budget. So a 6% of the total budget will give you this 72,000. So now we would solve it. So we have 72,000 is equal to 0.06x. We divide each side by 0.06, and that equals x. Now we can use a calculator here. So since we can use a calculator, we could put this value in our calculator. 72,000 divided by 0.06. So it gives us 1,200,000. So if we look down here, 1,200,000 is C. So our answer is C. Now, the next problem we're going to do is problem 22. It says American Loan Company mailed 3,600 customers an application for a new credit card. Only 20% of the customers returned the application. How many customers returned the application? So we have 3,600. So it says 20% of the customers. So it's 3,600 times the 20% will give us how many customers responded. Because it's 20% of the 3,600. Now we can use our calculator. So we'll take 3,600 times 0.20. And that gives us 720 is equal to X. Now that would be C. And it just so happened that 20 and 22 is C. Now 21, I think I want to do 21 and then I will call it the end of this this exercise. It says Jack earns a 5% commission on each sale. If he is paid a $160 commission, which of the following expressions could be used to find the amount of the sale? So he earns 5% commission on each sale, and he is paid $160. So basically, it's 5% of whatever sales he made will give him $160. So they want us to find out, could be used to find the amount of the sale. So now, we have 0.05x is equal to 160. We know that we will have to, because they said it's a 5% commission. Okay, so what we could do is this here. This, we could divide each side by 0.05. And x is equal to 160 over 0.05. Okay, now, here's the issue. If you notice here, they have the 160, they don't have 0.05 here. So that tells us that they want us to write this as a fraction. So we'll go back to what we had, the 0.05x equals 160. 0.05 is the same as 5 over 100 times x is equal to 160. Now I showed you all this in a previous exercise, that when you have a fraction multiplied by the variable you want, to get rid of the fraction, you have to multiply each side by its reciprocal, which in this case would be 100 over 5. So this right here would simplify each other out. You have x is equal to, we could put a 1 under the 160. It'll be 160 times 100 all over 5. And what we will see here is that is B. So now we are done with part 2 of lesson 3. So it will be posted on YouTube. Have a nice day.